How goes it, YouTube? Today is Sunday for me, but happy whatever day it is that you're watching this. Do me a favor, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's get to this video. In today's video, we're going to be watching the top 10 craziest hoarding buried alive video. Yes, buried alive. I don't know. Buried alive. We're going to see what that means. Are they buried alive in their junk? Are they buried alive in their filth? I'm pretty sure that's probably what it is. So, I don't know. We're going to see. We're gonna have to see. So far we've seen a couple of hoarding videos. We're about to see another one. So, get prepared to either gag or be repulsed at the filth of other people for some reason. I don't understand. Why? I don't understand. Okay? Let's just watch this video. Let's watch it.
Letting go may be hard, but some people take things a little too far. Welcome to Ms. Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 craziest hoarding buried alive episodes. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're looking at the wildest episodes of TLC's Hoarding Buried Alive, either because the people featured had some of the worst clutter in the show's run, something crazy happened in the episode, or both. Number 10. This House Killed Her. The show is no stranger to emotional situations, but one of the most upsetting was in this season 4 episode. When the 65-year-old mother of 3 children passes away, it's down to the adult kids Amy, Cheryl, and Jimmy to clear out the clutter and prove that Mom owned her house in the aftermath of her death. While Jimmy lived with their mother and knew the true extent of her hoarding problem, the 2 sisters had no idea. It's difficult to watch them come to terms with the way their mother lived and died, and even more so when the biohazard team begin to throw out all the deceased Cynthia's many possessions.
I just miss her so much. Yeah, you loved her. She was my mom.
Number 9. 3 Apartments, 3 Hoarders.
These are all lesbian novels. They're going to your clubhouse.
How many lesbians we got here?
At least 4 to 6 that live here, couples.
In a first for hoarding, this episode featured 3 hoarders all living in separate apartments in the same apartment building. Even more bizarre, the 3 of them were all completely unaware that they were living so close to people who suffered from the same problem. There are more lighthearted moments this time around, as one struggles to part with her collection of lesbian erotica, and many of the workers resort to throwing items out of the windows to get them out of the building.
We'll open up a lesbian friggin' library and donate it with your name on it.
Throughout the episode, tension remains high between the hoarding trio and the owner of the community complex, who desperately wants things cleaned up. Number 8. They're crawling. Audiences frequently find themselves wondering how the residents of these hellish homes manage to live in them without getting sick. And this became especially evident in Season 4, when 2 people working on TLC's cleanup crew contracted hantavirus while filming this episode. While not contagious from human to human, it spread through breathing in air contaminated by the virus, which comes from the fecal matter and urine of some rodents.
Hantavirus is a disease which is spread by rodents, and when you go through processes like cleaning a home, sweeping, vacuuming, these sorts of things, it goes into the air.
Kay's home was absolutely riddled with pests, including snakes and possums. And the worst part of it all, she would still barely admit that she had a problem, even when her own home had to be completely quarantined.
I lived with that stuff for 10 years. It was, at one point, something important to me.
Number 7. Full of rats. Kay may have been playing host to an array of furry friends, but hoarder Michelle took that to a whole new level in her aptly titled episode. Property investors want to buy her home, but soon discover that Michelle's problem has damaged the house to its core, as it is absolutely teeming with rats.
We pulled out big rats, small rats, medium-sized rats, spiders, and a bevy of other little flying creatures, and of course, a possum.
She's also technically homeless, but seems unable to accept it as a team tries to help her. But perhaps the episode's worst moment comes at the beginning, as Michelle gives a tour of her kitchen, showing the filthy pots and pans she still uses to cook with to the cameras.
Oh, pots and pans are in the kitchen. I use this to make quiche.
Number 6. You're not taking my kids.
Did you hear what she said? just a scenario for you. Imagine that woman makes a quiche, takes it to work on one of those potluck days, and feeds it to all of y'all. How would you feel? See, you shouldn't trust people that make food for you. You don't know how their house situation is. She was living and hoarding with a whole lot of rats of different sizes, a possum, snakes, spiders, and she was still making food on her stove with that pot that you said she makes quiches with. Just imagine she's making this food for you. You gonna be feeling sick someday. Or hey, if you have a hard rock stomach, then you probably won't even taste it. You probably won't even notice. I don't eat other people's food. I have problems. I'm very picky. Even when you go to restaurants, you don't know how people are. You don't know if they're washing their hands. You don't know what else they're touching. You don't know what's going on. So you have to pray over your food before you eat it, because you don't know what the heck you contract. Especially from this lady. That lady, that past lady, freaking making quiches for people or other food items, taking it to work for potlucks. No, honey. No. And she thinks it's okay. She thinks it's just nothing's wrong. What? There's a lot wrong with this situation. Don't trust people. Don't trust cooking. Don't trust these people. Don't trust them. Don't trust them.
Karen isn't the only victim of her hoarding. Her two young sons are quoted as saying they feel trapped in her nightmarish home.
I think my mom might struggle with hoarding.
Aww.
I feel like I'm trapped inside.
The episode begins with the kids being taken away by Child Protective Services because of concern for their well-being, with Karen offered the ultimatum that if she doesn't clean up her act within 48 hours, she will not regain custody of her boys. But the situation is also notable for reducing psychologist Dr. Becky Beaton to tears when she sees the sick and neglected family dog soon rehomed by the SPCA.
I hope she got her kids.
Number 5.
I hope she got her kids
I've
back.
Ever seen. Karen's home was thrown into crisis when local officials told her they would tear down her property for not being up to code.
My obsession is keeping things, buying things.
While investigating, they found it severely damaged without running water and full of cat feces. One code enforcer couldn't even stand to be in the building without throwing up. Karen's realization that the home her parents built could be condemned is heartbreaking. Meanwhile, in the same episode, Teresa struggles to balance her shopping compulsion with her chronic fatigue syndrome, meaning her house is completely overrun with junk and her illness renders her unable to clean.
It's just kind of filled with a lot of stuff.
Number 4, I Can't Breathe. Another mother at risk of losing custody of her child was Lorena, whose own sister was attempting to have 10-year-old Alexia put into her care out of concern for the child's well-being.
That child deserves better.
Lorena's hoarding has tragic beginnings, all stemming from when her ex-boyfriend brutally assaulted and raped her 5 years earlier in her own front garden, even slitting her throat. However,
I'm sorry. Your throat was slit. You were raped and abused in your garden at this home. And because of that, you had control. You found a way that you can control certain things. And so you started hoarding to amend that feeling. That sucks. That's horrible. It's heartbreaking. Like, you go through that process and you just revert back to saving stuff and finding a way to put something in your control. That is, man, that sucks. Horrible.
This is one unfortunate story that actually has a happy ending. Lorena managed to completely turn her life around, separating from her hoard and keeping it under control, prioritizing her young daughter's safety and quality of life above all else.
I probably wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for
That's amazing.
one of my daughters. She saved me.
Number 3,
I like the
Is That
fact
a Goat?
that
A show with no shortage of horrors reaches
the fact that she
extremes
turned her
with
life
Joyce
around
and
for
her
her
collection
child
of antique
and put her child
dolls.
first.
When her marriage
and
fell
got her
apart,
back on
she
the right
turned
track.
to the
That
dolls
is
for
great.
comfort.
That's
And
that's
despite
great.
running out of money and losing her job, she continues to buy as many of these dolls as she can get her hands on.
I like dolls that smile, especially when you have a lot of depression and stuff. It's nice to have someone or even something smiling at you all the time.
The episode's other hoarder is Donnie, a retired Marine who doesn't just have his own personal junkyard, but also a lively herd of goats.
Is that a fire truck? That's a fire truck. Is that a goat? Yep. I got about 10 of them in there.
But Donnie feels under siege from the county, from which he has amassed thousands in fines and 2 jail sentences. Number 2, just tear it down. Kieran's neglected dog may have ultimately been adopted by a vet after being removed from her home and given to animal control. But the outcome wasn't nearly so pleasant for Doug and
2
Darlene's
jail
missing cat.
sentences?
Sickeningly, in this episode, the cat's mummified remains were found trapped underneath a heavy dresser, where it had perished 2 years earlier.
2 years. But that is Rat Cat.
The hardest moment was when we found the rat cat. She wasn't even the cat, she was our child.
And that's not the worst of it. They also have a broken septic tank, which means the house is steadily overflowing with raw sewage and human waste, to the point where demolition seems like a better option than attempting to clean. Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
It has to change. It has to change. I can't live like this. And I need some help to fix it.
The city declared her home unlivable, and the power, gas, and water were shut off.
Just thing on top of thing on top of thing.
You've got a lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
Number 1, sleeping in a dumpster.
Old milk. This one is from June, so that's like 7 months, 7 months ago.
Inarguably the craziest episode of all, stubborn hoarders and deadly clutter weren't the only dangers people had to worry about. Laura is attempting to clean her home with the help of her sons and the show's crew, but their lives are threatened when a fire breaks out in her garbage-filled kitchen. Somebody mistakenly turns on the stove, which is covered in newspapers and other flammable materials, leaving them struggling to extinguish the fire, or else the entire house will go up in flames. They eventually manage to stop the blaze, but it makes for one of the most intense moments in the show's whole run.
How do you mistakenly
it
turn
could
on
have
the
gotten
stove?
ugly real fast. And what's on the floor? Trash, papers, plastic. Done.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from Ms. Mojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.
I don't understand how you can mistakenly turn on the stove. There is no possibility of being mistakenly. You turn that stove on because you're just going to randomly turn a knob? Like, really? Really? You were this close to trying to get that insurance money, buddy, and so you have to clean up all that stuff, just burn it all down. But then you got caught. Come on now. I didn't see the whole episode, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Come on now. Logical. Logical thought. Logical. Anyway, that was interesting hoarding. Some of it was sad. It was, I'm not going to say some of it. It's all sad. People that have a problem with hoarding that just buy things and constantly buy things to appease something that's going on with them, either mentally, emotionally, physically. You just have an attachment to either things, or you just like buying stuff and accumulating things. But to me, if you like buying things, like say for instance, you just buy things and you neatly put it, in a orderly fashion, and not have feces, rodents, a herd of animals, livestock coming into your place and of dwelling and just messing it all up, making to where it's unlivable for you. It's cool if you have, you have a little addiction, but you tone it down and you buy stuff here and there, or you sell it, or you find other ways around it. You don't just continue to buy and throw on top of and keep going and stacking and then accumulate animals with it, because I don't know. That's just not okay. Just don't do it, sir. Please, ma'am. It's cool. Find other means. Go mingle somewhere else. Go find you a chat room. Find you some people to talk to. Find you some people in the community to go meet with, to talk about the things that you're feeling, so that you don't accumulate stuff, so that you don't cause your house to have to be, demolished, or you get kicked out of your home, or you lose your children because of your problem, or you just lose your animals, your other children, your fur babies, because you can't contain yourself. You can't, keep them under bay. Have a litter box for your cats, or take your dogs outside to poop, or your goat,